Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Battle Brothers Season 3. As today, we try to get ourselves tucked back into the current crisis, though it is at a slow period right now after our success against House Hedwyn. I think that's right. That said, the Noble War is still ongoing, so let's see if we can snag our second crisis contract. A servant of a local noble asks you to follow him on his master's behest. He leads you into the wealthier part of Thunberg, where the buildings get taller and the people's streets don't reek of horse manure. Eventually, you reach a manor that looks like it used to be a temple. Fake owls dot the eaves, staring down at you as you walk by. A depressed-looking cat idles on the front steps. You enter through a front door that squalls with opulence, its hinges and wide swing echoing into the foyer. Your mouth drops open as you hardly even know the words to describe the grandeur inside. Staring out his window, Count Guntram von Harkon asks a simple question. Do you know what a greenskin does when it gets its hands on an infant? You turn your head. A guard in the corner shrugs. You address the question. Yeah. The nobleman nods to himself and returns to his desk, taking a belabored seat there. There is a horde of them terrorizing Angon. I need you to find them and slay them all. They can't. Well, just kill them all right? Oh, buddy. Not the kind of job I was hoping for, but, I mean, how can I say no to a plea like that? Yeah, we'll take care of it. I mean, Angolns are source for nets anyway. Just a one skull, so should be relatively quick. Also gives us a chance to grab a few more nets before we get stuck back into more serious stuff. We'll also keep an eye out for targets of opportunity. I just don't want to get too bogged down with this. Oof. Also terrorized by Alps. Angol's got it rough. But we'll do what we can to help. And we will buy all of their nets. Wow, 5. That's actually pretty solid. Man, it's a real shame this map seed didn't come with any other towns along the river. It really would make a great way to pop from town to town, you know. Rapidly traverse the map. And no update to our current goal, so I guess we just set up camp and wait. Oh. Tendrils of smoke curl and slip out of the ruins of the farmstead. A body is at what used to be the front door. Half of it is missing. The half you are left with carries a horrified face. A burnt arm reaching out to something or someone that is no longer there. A few footprints scatter amongst the mud and grass. Greenskins. You're getting close. I mean, we've been stationary since we got here, but sure. Am I supposed to be actively seeking these guys? Because that is not what my quest marker is telling me. I mean, my current assumption is that they are coming to us, much like the Defend Against Bandits contract. But let's give it a bit more time. Okay, no, this is... Right, okay, got it. Let's poke around. That event is much like with the Barbarian King, I think, resetting their location each time it fires. Just so they don't stray too far out of the operational zone. Ten goblins, no big deal. Nighttime too, which is to their detriment. Whereas we, on the other hand, can simply adjust our line. Definitely want Sig and Mal in there. They're both one fight away from hitting level 7. That's a big one. That's where we decide what we're doing with them. Growing antsy in the long hours spent guarding the borders of Anglin, the raiders soon set to going on farther and farther ranging patrols, an excuse to stretch their legs if nothing else. Though at the end of the second day, a sudden rustle of brush, a twang of a bow, a yelp from the front line. One of the raiders, Seymore, reaches down, favoring a wound on his side, a black-fletched arrow protruding from it. Rook raises the company banner imperiously. Ambush! And as the first goblins skulk into view, Drakiith rushes forward to meet them, only to find himself festooned with a heavy, weighted net. Arrow takes aim, spying other figures lurking amidst the brush. A well-placed shot. A bow-wielding figure falls. Mark steps up onto a nearby rise, readying his gun. Ignoring the awkwardly tossed bolas that whirl overhead. Rax and Diego rush past him on the north, moving to engage, while Rook steps up in center, gesticulating wildly as he directs the rest of the company forward. Random moving up to back Drak. Rassel pushing up to keep Rook covered. Even Seymore lurches forward, movements awkward, muscles stiff, from goblin venom pulsing through his veins. One by one, the rest of the raiders take their positions. And the goblins respond with predictable caution. More nets fly. Random and Rassel both entangled. More bolas bouncing off metal shields. Mark takes aim, squinting through the darkness. The brush is peppered with shrapnel, a goblin's chest turned to gore. Rax rushes in, pushing past the first goblin. Sight set on the archer beyond. Arrow likewise repositions, eyeing the unruly terrain, trying to fit a shot in edgewise. Diego pushes up as well, backing Rax's play. Random carefully takes aim, awkwardly shifting his grip on the diviner's sensor neath the heavy, weighted rope. A sudden swing. One goblin spiraling, broken into the thorny scrub brush. A trail of virulent vapor left in his wake. The rest of the raiders rush in, ready to capitalize. A strike from Cetrus. Another goblin howls, favoring its broken hand. A glancing hit on Random, but he shrugs it off. The brackish goblin poison, seemingly having no effect on the filter-fortified flailmen. The skirmish quickly devolves into a drawn-out slugfest. Blades clattering off armor, Sprightly figures narrowly evading otherwise lethal blows. The bowman does put an arrow through one skirmisher's leg. Rook piercing another's palm a split second later. Seymore finds his bearings, gutting the goblin in front of him. And Rassel brains another, clearing an approach that Cetrus swiftly takes advantage of. Verlin moves round the rear, the goblins panicking as they realize their escape has been cut off, as has one of the archer's heads, courtesy of Malafnoy. Random crushes another into the ground. Okay. Goblin Pikeman seems indecisive on whether or not he wants to be engaged. Rack steps up, cutting his meandering short, as well as his companion, an archer, flying apart in two halves. Diego stabs a skirmisher in the back, breaking his resolve. Rook runs the final archer through. And just like that, the fight is all but over. The pikeman still has at least some fight in him. Though that is quickly bled out, as an arrow punches through his pectoral, neatly threading ribs, narrowly missing his lung. The raiders rally, moving to wrangle the rest. One ducks away from Diego, running for the hills. The pikemen swiftly split asunder by a swing from Rax's axe. Diego moves to cut off the final fleeing figure. And the rest of the raiders rush in, each eager to claim that final kill, to ensure that these green-skinned menaces never again terrorize the fine folks of Angln. With Seymore officially heading him off. Nicely done, Raiders. Slightly more dings and dongs than I really would have preferred, but not bad. After the battle, you notice a merchant off to the side, sitting ugly on his dead horse. Some wayward violence put an end to the creature, and now the merchant is shit out of luck. He looks at the battlefield, then at you. Crossing his arms over the pommel of his saddle, he inquires loudly, "Would you, Sir Warrior, be willing to escort me to Wallen? As you can see, my mode of travel has shat out beneath me, felled by a battle. Not that it is your fault, no, sir. However, I really must get to that town." He pauses and dangles a small purse before you. "I've got 150 crowns in it for you. How does that sound?" You know what? Sure, yeah, Wallen's not that far out of the way. It's just a little south of Thunberg. Which is where we have to head anyway, since that's where we collect our actual pay. Oh, but before we do, level ups. The most important thing from this fight was that it did officially push both Mal and Sig up to level 7. Oh man, look at those defense rolls. I will happily take both. In fact, I dare say that's enough, I think, for Mal to safely lose the shield, relatively speaking. I mean, obviously we want to keep cranking that defense moving forward, but yeah, I think he's ready to go offense over defense. Maybe we'll toss him that ominous madness. He does have iron lungs, so that plus the orc warrior potion might be enough to help him handle that head chopper. As for Seymore, he has specifically requested to become a great swordsman. And yeah, I think, I was kind of leaning shieldman because he does have the star placement in both defenses. However, his resolve is still a bit on the low end. So, I think I might actually leave that to Rassel. We might make Rassel our third string shieldman. And just go ahead and embrace the way of the sword with Seymore. Which, might, of course, also get him killed, but, no guts, no glory. That aside, both of them need some time on the bench to recover, so that'll give me some time to think on it before we officially lock it in. I feel like it would work, though. We'll toss Mal the military cleaver for now, until I decide on something more ominous. Alright, let's get this guy over to Wallen. Then we'll bounce back to Thunberg. Oh man. If we caught them just a bit sooner, we could have taken on all 23 at once. But obviously we're not passing up this kind of opportunity. Along the road back to Thunberg, the raiders soon discovered the reason the merchant was so eager for an escort, as just around a bend, they were confronted by a group of brigands 24 strong, though clearly not expecting the merchant to be accompanied by a hardened group of mercenaries. The brutish brigands quickly scattered, and the raiders gamely gave chase. Honestly, they almost felt bad for them. Had the brigands actually stood and fought, they might have stood a chance. I mean, probably not, but, stranger things have happened. As it now stood, however, the two splintered groups were naught but meat. A bandit axeman turned to fight, swiftly met by 2 arrows, one in the chest and another through his throat. He stumbled and staggered, spitting up blood. And then collapsed. Another swordsman rushed the raider line, the rest of the brigands milling about uncertainly. A flailman, a hesitant second to advance. Rassel rushed in, clouding him upside the head, leaving him dazed. Though that goaded other brigands to rush forward as well. Zarmal came in from the side, stabbing the swordsman's hand. A pair of axes thunked into the stunned flailman, limbs trimmed in bloody fashion. Mark moved in, handgun at the ready. A blast sent 3 bandits reeling, easy prey for the rest of the raiders. And Rax moved in, beheading the swordsman with a backhand swing, then pushing past the blood-fountaining body, eyes set on his brethren beyond. Rook rushed in, finishing the flailer. Random dealt a crushing blow on south. Zarmal lunged forward, putting his dagger through another hatchet man's hand. The bandit's line swiftly crumbled, a shieldman rushing forward in a futile effort to somehow stem the tide. Trip rushed the rear line, slashing a marksman's side in passing. Rassel rushed in next, shattering the unfortunate archer's hand. Rax sheared a shieldman, then shoved his way forward as well. Random pummeled the Pikmin on south. Rook killed the twice crippled crossbowman. Drak encouraged another shieldman to cleave. Zarmal shouldering another burden. Tommy cut Drak's fight short. Mark maneuvering on north, only for an enemy archer to suddenly pelt off. Yeah, I don't think we're going to catch that one. Maybe with Diego's dog. Nope, fair enough. Yeah, he is the easier target. I get that. Rassel crushed the last crossbowman. Cetrus caught the last shieldman low. And Rax had his back. But the raiders withdrew, allowing the last one to pelt off into the distance. Hardly worth the effort. An easy victory, of course, but, well, worth the time. Some decent loot. A level up for Rook. Not bad for, 10 minutes work? Not even. And, of course, we still have that second group, too. Though, I still do wish we'd caught them both together. That would have at least made it slightly more daunting. Let's go ahead and push Rook towards 60 HP. I'd kind of like to have him rounded out. I mean, honestly, we would be better putting that point in defense, but... it just kind of drives me crazy seeing all those uneven numbers. I set my targets, and I'd kind of like to meet them, even if it's not necessarily the most efficient use of our points. That aside, Rook's doing fine. Goodness knows, he's certainly doing better than Rev. Oh, speaking of which, we do still need a backup bannerman. With the first group of bandits dispatched, the raiders turned to find the second not far away, having apparently paused, to see if their compatriots might do enough damage to make it worth their while to come back and finish the job. But, now realizing their mistake, They swiftly backpedaled, but it was, of course, far too late. A pair of arrows buried into the lead swordsman. The rest of the bandits setting their jaws, raising their weapons, then wading into the fray, a fight they would almost certainly lose, but they did at least have number. Perhaps by some miracle, they could actually turn this to their advantage. I mean, obviously they wouldn't, but the Raiders were certainly willing to indulge their last stand. A crushing strike from Rassel, and the twice-shot shyster was shaken. A pair of axes on North, a lumbering brute, stumbling, gut gashed wide. Drak stepped up, slaughtering the staggered swordsman. Trip winged a bludgeoner. And Rax ended another foe's flailing, the geyser of blood giving his fellows pause. The marksman rushed in, an errant bolt whizzing overhead. Alois stepped up in turn. A blistering blast, nearly taking a crossbowman's head off. Diego axed one on North. Rook rushing in, kneecapping another. Nice. Oh. A wicked swing from Random, a trio of heads cracked. Huh, finally getting the hang of this thing, he growled. Arrow put 2 shots into a crossbowman, then a third into a concussed flubber. Drak removed the source of another foe's headache. Trip perforating the third. And Alois blasted down the last of their line. 2 more bandits felled. Rassel rushed forward. Even as Rax handily dispatched the last of the bandit front line. But 2 remained, both technically combat capable, but very unlikely to stick around for an actual fight. And sure enough, the bandit swordsman turned and ran, abandoning his bow-wielding buddy to his fate. A few of the raiders did give chase, but the odds of actually catching him were slim. Rook instead impaled the archer's arm in passing. The hapless hooligan hefted a hatchet, but was almost instantly cut down by a long shot from arrow. And once again, the raiders allowed the last one to flee the field. Their work here was essentially done, their cart already heavily laden. Though once again, their efforts had paid off. Not just in loot, but also experience. though it would take some effort to fit the choicer goods into their already overflowing cache. And then they moved on. Wallen and Thunberg await. Though first, 2 more level ups, Rax and Drax. First up, Rax hits level 10. No, Cetrus is lagging behind now, so Rax becomes our first heavy to hit 10, which, I mean, I think we've already kind of locked in on the Berserk trifecta. Though, in theory, we might be able to skate by without Recover. I mean, ultimately, I do think we're probably going to need to take it, but we'll see how we do without. As for stat rolls, obviously the melee, and then lots of middling rolls. But I suppose we can go for, let's say, Resolve and Initiative, why not? As for Drak, he does hit Soft Cap, which means this is his final level up, and there is some temptation to go for Berserk. We already have Recover. However, with just 71 in melee, I think we're better off going for Backstabber. But let's get a gander at his last round of stat bumps. Yeah, middling on melee. And on defense, aside from maybe range. This is our last full rolled level up, though, so we should probably just go for the numbers over more moderate gains. Yeah, we'll go ahead and cap Resolve. That way we won't have to worry about it moving forward. All of his future level ups can go into melee and both defenses. And yeah, given that we didn't increase his melee, let's go ahead and grab Backstabber. That's just a good one to have, especially for what was essentially a starting bro. You know, much like Annie, another seat warmer who inexplicably survived well past the point he was ever expected to. Though, looking at his final stat lineup, I will also say, probably not the person to give the ominous madness to. I am still thinking Mal, at least for now. But we'll see if any other new recruits catch my eye. Having reached Wallen in safekeeping, the merchant turns around and thanks you. He hands over a satchel of crowns, just as promised, and quickly makes his way into the town. Huh, short and sweet. We'll take it. And not really much else going on here, but we will grab some very cheap ammo. Almost kind of a shame we don't need more. And sure, might as well unload some cheaper goods while we're here. Free some space for a potential fight en route to Thunberg. I think that's good enough for now. Alright, let's turn this thing in. And, yeah, we're not awful on time. I think we might have time for maybe, like, one quick thing after. Count Guntram is regaling a woman with tales when you return. Her giggles turn to a longing stare as you enter. He sees this and quickly scoots her out, lest the presence of a real man give her the fainting fits. Sellsword, what news do you have? You bring the head of a greenskin out of a burlap sack. Count Guntram gazes at it, purses his lips, smiles, frowns. Seems not sure what to do with what he's looking at. Right. Well, your pay is here, as promised. He heaves a wooden chest onto the table. Bring that girl back in here when you leave. Will do. I see you're doing your part to help replenish England's recent loss of infants, I suppose. Noble work indeed. Oh, I really would like to tag in another raider. I'm just not sure I'm ready to settle for a retired soldier. They're not bad. They're like decent mid-tier troops, but while they do tend to be handy with a weapon, they also pay for it with reduced fatigue and initiative. You know what? Screw it. We're not going to take a retired soldier, but we are going to go ahead and, well, first, give me a sec to dump all our vendor trash real quick, and, we're going to head south, back towards the arena. We might not be having any luck with hedge knights, but at least we know where there are gladiators. And we're back. No contract handy in Thunberg, and the war is still dragging on, so we'll give it some time to heat back up, perhaps. In the meantime, we'll set our sights south. We'll hit up Hikma, see if we can perhaps grab ourselves a gladiator, and then work our way back north. Hopefully by then, House Harkon will find themselves in need of our services once more. We'll take the off-road route since we already recently patrolled the road to Wallen. Oh. I mean... No, we might hit that on the way back. I don't... Actually... Ancient Auxiliary aren't bad. Necrosavants are slightly worse, but... I think we can handle it. We just need to pull all of our range support. Alright, let's do this. Tell me again why we're walking across the desert in the middle of the night, Rassel grumbled. A few of the other raiders around him echoed the sentiment. Because it's hot during the day? Cetrus responded, as if speaking to a child. Right, I get that part, Rassel growled, eyeing the caravan hand irately. I just mean, why are we walking through the desert at all? Why aren't we staying on the road? Oh, that. Cetrus nodded, slightly mollified. He glanced back at the commander. Shortcut? The nebulous commander simply shook his head, pointing forward, ahead of the raiders, to where palm trees gave way to columns of ancient stone. The shuffle of 24 skeletal feet, sounding against the sands. Oh, goddamn it, Rassel muttered. We're gonna fight them skelemen again, ain't we? And sure enough, bony figures soon loomed. And the raiders waded in, or at least they were about to, when the sound of rustling wings fluttered in around the edges of their formation. The advance of their northern flank forestalled. Rack stepped up, shattering the first skeleton to reach their line. He glanced back at the shadowy figures on their flank, then waded forward nonetheless, engaging the rest of the auxiliary. The rest of the raiders split their focus, some holding the flesh-hungry fiends at bay. Others, instead, eliminating yet more auxiliary. The Raiders weren't in trouble just yet, but they were keeping their formation flexible, ready to rally to any trouble spots that might suddenly flare up. Cetra struck one savant. A telling blow, its jaw nearly dashed from its face, the figure staggering, its taut-fleshed face askew. Yet more auxiliary boiled forth, swiftly threatening to overwhelm the Raiders. Though thus far, they held firm. Some swift strikes from Zarmal. Carefully aimed thrusts targeting joints. Whilst Drak simply cleaved one apart with his Khopesh. The jawless figure vanished into darkness, recoalescing behind Random, the wild man narrowly dodging a blow. Zarmal finished disassembling a skeleton. Drak half decapped the second savant. Diego putting it the rest of the way down. Random eyed the leathery fleshed figure, haunting his backside, before taking a swipe at a skeleton and sadly missing, as did Rook. And meanwhile, Rax simply racked him up. A mighty round swing, 2 more skeletons smashed asunder. Wow, we are not having much luck with that first savant. Savant? I want to say savant. But someone will have to check me on that. It's not a word I use terribly often. The vampire. The exsanguinary undead. A few more foes filtered from the darkness, but the Raiders held them well at bay. The fight did seem well and truly tilted in the Raiders' favor, though Diego's armor now hung in tatters. A slight concern, perhaps. The last of the vampiric trio repositioned. An ill-advised engagement against the company's executioner. The first likewise abandoning Random, angling for Verlin instead. But, lacking its jaw, the assault was largely toothless. Cetrus followed the first fiend. A swing of his sword, finally, striking it down. Its body collapsed in an ashen heap. Rassel smashed down another Skeleman, grunting with some degree of satisfaction. Mal pushed center, tearing down another Skeleman as well, whilst Cetrus nailed one on North. Rax tore into the last of the vampiric vermin, its body spiraling in half. Top and bottom connected by but a mere thread of spinal cord. Its body listing wildly left and right, as flesh sought to desperately knit. The figure faded, scattering into a dozen flying forms, before reappearing on North. Calloused clumps now knitting its corpse-like form together. Random crushed the last foe on center. Seymore smashed another on south. Verlin's actually getting pretty close to breaking there. We should start pushing Rook south, just in case. Oh, wow. Rax is getting pretty close to exhausted there. Might need recover after all. Zarmal broke up another bony bulwark? I don't know about that one. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other words for skeleton, but for some reason, my brain just keeps circling back to Zom-bonies. I mean, I guess technically these guys are Zom-bonies. Reminds me of my old Deadland days. Back when the players would frequently encounter zombies. Undead gunmen were a pretty common sight in the Weird West. Sure would be nice if someone could kill that last vampire. Hey, there we go. Rassel crushed the last fanged pest, its body crumbling away, skull toppling into a pile of shimmering ash. And the raiders turned their attention to the rest of the skeleton crew. Random crushing the third to last. Rook's getting pretty worn out, too. I guess it's actually the sand. The sand takes more fatigue to move around in. Cetra struck down the second to last. And tripped up the last. Again, a fairly easy victory for the Raiders at large, but slightly more interesting at least. And I will say, Rassel definitely seems to be doing better ever since we tossed him that footman's mace and shield. That does make me feel a bit better about making him our third string shieldman, which would indeed free up Sig and Mal as potential potential shieldless strikers. I'll mull on that between episodes. It may also depend on what we find in the recruit pool the next town over. Speaking of which, let's get ourselves a Hikmah. That'll be a good place to call it. All right. Oh, look at that. Ambush trade routes. Makes it a great place to sell. Plus 1 net in offing. We'll go ahead and snag that while we're here. And we do have a gladiator. Relatively cheap too, though in large part due to the fairly lackluster equipment. Oh, there we go. Tala the Brutalizer. I like the sound of that. Also a couple of assassins, but I feel like we're pretty good with the one we've already got. Yes, so I think it's a safe bet that we'll pick up at least 1 gladiator while we're here. Though, sadly, not much else of note, aside from the arena, of course, but that'll have to wait till next time. So yeah. We'll go ahead and hit the pause button for now. I will clear out the rest of our vendor trash. Grab one of those gladiators, probably Brutalizer, because I really want that armor. And we will pick up here next time. A new raider in tow. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to RobbyB23, Revenant, Alois, Bowman, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz, Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.